America, USA. Wow, we're actually pretty solidly international. Singapore. Wow, Kevin, thank you. I don't want to ask you what time of day it is in Singapore. South Africa, hey, Tasha. So for everyone who's just joining us, 8 p.m. Okay, not too bad, Kevin, I'm glad. For everyone that's just joining us, we're just waiting for a couple more people to join and we'll start the conversation in about 3 minutes. And we're just asking if you've just joined to write the country that you're dialing in from in the chat bar. Portugal, lots of people from Portugal. Jamie's just recommended I become a small town radio DJ. Thanks, Jamie. Oh, wow, lots more people. Okay, guys, we'll start in about 2 or 3 minutes time. Bonvana from Cape Town, thanks for joining. Okay, a couple more minutes and then we'll kick off. I can see lots of people starting to join. So thank you everyone who's joining us. What we're just asking as well, if you've just joined, please do put the country that you're from into the chat bar and we can get a good idea of kind of the global spread. We've got Singapore, South Africa, Portugal, Austria, Belgium, Germany, lots of amazing places, Sweden, Canada, oh my word. More Sweden, Belarus, wow, that's amazing, welcome. Germany. Good old South Africa.
I mean, we used to go to Spain in a house all times of the year. He would swim in the sea every morning. He was very modest about it, so he would go
Africa,
in,
Canada, Australia. Hello from Australia.
Swim, 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 swim. Rest on the on again, and out he would come. What did he get up on that?
Botswana. United States, we really are very international. This is amazing. Russia, awesome. Lapland. Ben Taylor, are you really in Lapland? I hope you're in Lapland. Costa Rica, Australia, oh my word. All right. Sunny, snowy Lapland. Hey, we got Emma from Portugal. Hey, long time since we saw you. Hope you're well. New Hampshire, USA. Hey, Ethan. Ethan's joined us. Awesome. Italy, new country. We got some, yeah, Ben from Italy. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Ash, how are we doing for time? Should we kick off? Just conscious that don't want to eat into people's days.
Yeah, can do. We can get started. People can join at any time. So even if anyone's a couple of minutes late, they'll still be able to jump in.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hello everyone. So my name is Tim, and I'm the founder and director at Waves for Change. And I just wanted to thank all of you for joining what's going to be a two-part webinar series. It's going to be two panels looking at how sport can contribute to healthy communities around the world, and looking at what have we learned from surfing and surf therapy about how we design programs. So we've got some great panelists today, and hopefully you're going to enjoy what they've got to say. If you have any questions, please do drop them into the chat bar. What I'll be doing throughout the talk is just making sure that all the questions are sorted, and I'll share them. So our comp here, or facilitator today, is going to be Ash. So Ash here, so she's the partnerships manager at Waves for Change. Ash supports leaders and coaches from 21 different organizations around the world, 11 different countries, to integrate kind of a mental health focus to their work. She's got 5 years of experience in the sector, and she's recognized that it's the people that really drive the impact. And it's the best part of her job is getting to work with all these different people around the world. So Ash is going to be asking questions, and she's going to be talking to Matias, Jamie, and Chris. So Matias is the co-founder of Alto, Peru. He's dialing in from Cusco today. Matias studied clinical psychology and community development. He loves to surf and trail run. He also has a son who's almost 2 years old, so he might be looking quite tired because his son kept him up all night, just like my son did last night. We then have Jamie Marshall. So Jamie's dialing in from Scotland today. Jamie launched the WAVE project, which is the northernmost surf therapy program around the world. He's now a full-time researcher at Edinburgh Napier University. He's just nearing the completion of his PhD, and he's exploring the program theory behind surf therapy. So what is it about surfing and surf therapy that works? And last, but definitely not least, we have Chris Dennis, the King of Trinidad, self-proclaimed King of Chris is an accomplished pro surfer, and he's the co-founder of a non-profit organization that he founded called Waves for Hope. He grew up in a small rural town in the east of Trinidad called Ballon. He's very passionate about his home, his country, and the youth. He's the winner of the 2021 Aloha Award for the work of Waves for Hope. And it's through surfing and surf therapy that he sees a positive future for his community. So what we're hoping to learn today is just by talking about what is it about surfing and sport that's so beneficial for our communities, what can we learn from surfing and surf therapy about how we can design sports programs for different communities around the world. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand over to Ash, and Ash will be facilitating the conversation. And we're going to have another kind of session in about 2 weeks' time, looking specifically at the research and the impact. So hopefully you'll join us for that, and we'll have some more information about that at the end of the seminar today. But Ash, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hand over to you guys. So Ash, take it away.
Cool. Thanks so much, Tim. And hi, everyone around the world. I'm so excited to have you all here. And yeah, as Tim mentioned, the conversation we're going to have today is really a conversation that everyone on this call is really curious about and really passionate about. And we are lucky enough to have these conversations within our networks, and we kind of thought it could be fun if more people could hear some of the things that the amazing partners on this call have to say. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get started. We're going to try chat the four of us for not the whole call, just to make sure that there's some time for Q&A at the end for any curious questions. And I thought to start, what we could do would be just to share a little bit about the participants at each of the two programs that we are talking to today. So Chris with Waves for Hope in Trinidad, and Matias from Alto Peru in Peru. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that the participants face, and also what are some of the changes that we've seen in the participants. But first, just to really build that understanding of who these programs serve and why Chris and Matias have both found it necessary and important to provide their service to their community. My first question, and I'm going to start with Chris, if that's okay, with the beautiful bird noise in the background as well. Chris, what are some of the challenges that your participants are facing that made you feel like it was really important to deliver the service?
Hi Ash, hi everybody, and thanks for joining in. I'm honored and happy to be able to share our work here in Trinidad. Um, we are in an area called Ballon in Trinidad, and it's a rural part of the country, surrounded by a bunch of rural villages. We work with youth between the ages of 9 till like 25, 24, 22. A lot of the challenges, most of the common challenges, I would say, would be poverty, broken family structures, abuse, both sexual, verbal, mentally, drugs, guns, lack of opportunities for self-development. One of the major ones that surrounds all of these challenges would be lack of positive role models in the communities. So those are some of the major challenges we face here.
Thanks for sharing, Chris. And Matias, maybe you could share a little bit about some of the challenges that your participants are facing in the external world. There might be some that Chris shared that are resonating with you. There might also be some challenges that you've identified or that you've identified through the work at Alto Peru about what your participants are experiencing internally as well. That's challenging.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry about my English. I think it won't be like the best, but hopefully you will understand. What Chris said is like he was describing my community too. It's like almost the same, but we are not in a rural context. We are in Lima. And I would add the inequality, because at least the communities where we work are like slums, but really close to like the high society, like 3 blocks away from them. So that inequality, I think, affects a lot and creates a lot of social dynamics that are like, that exacerbate the violence and the feeling of being like forgotten by the state. And I also would add the violence, I don't know how to say it, like delivered by the state, by the government.
Wow.
Because they don't have access to water, they don't have access to education, they don't have access. And I would pose that's violent. The government is being violent with a big portion of the population here. And we work with kids from 6 to 15, 16, and also with the facilitators that are like from 17 until 26 at the moment.
Yeah, amazing. And I think we're already excited to hear about your work with the older youth as well. Thank you both for sharing those experiences and that adversity that your participants are facing. I think before the call started, we were seeing people are tuning in from all over the world and joining us from all over the world. And I'm sure that there's a lot about what you guys have shared so far that is in common and that they can identify with as well. So we've explored a little bit about the environments and the challenges that the participants are facing. Before we come to the really big question or topic for the call around what it is that you guys do at your programs, I thought I would almost go one step ahead, and I'd love to hear what are some of the changes that you're seeing, or what is some of the impact that you're seeing as a result of your programs and the service that you deliver. So you've kind of identified and shared why it is that you felt like your programs are important in the service that you deliver, including the fact that perhaps they don't have access to the support or these services from government or other sources. Yeah, and maybe this time we'll start with Matias. But I'd love to hear what are some of the positive changes, what is some of the impact that you're seeing as a result of your program?
Well, there are a lot of super interesting and yeah, and powerful like results that we've been realizing the program it has. I would say the sense of belonging is something that we value a lot. Like the kids, they have a new gang, and it's like a surf gang, like a sport gang, and that's super like positive for them and also for the youngers, because I'm talking about the kids that are like 12 years old, 13, because they hang out a lot together after the surf or before the surf. They are together all the time, and it's a positive gang, as we say, because they incorporate the behaviors and the way of create like relationships. They take care of each other. You can see that, and that's like uh, a transition. Like it's like progressive. It's not like the program finishes and they start behaving properly, but you can see like much less violence in their communication, uh, and also something that we've heard from the kids is like, now I have like different ways to solve like my problems with my younger brother or with my parent, and the value of the word, of putting in words what they feel. I think it's something that creates a big change, and sometimes we could think like it's a small change, but it has a lot of impact because they learn how to like put in words their emotions, and it has a lot of consequences. Uh, yeah, and on the other hand, also like the fact that they have new role models because of the facilitators and the group creates like a sense of like more hope with their future. Like they are like they have new goals, or they have goals. Like maybe they didn't have goals before, so uh, some of them could like want to become surfers, and probably they won't be surfers, but they have a dream, and that also creates a change in terms of like positive emotions inside and the feeling of like confidence, like they can do what they want, and that's I think in big part a consequence of the positive reinforcement that they are receiving uh, in the program, and I think also in terms of the impact with the facilitators, they learn they assume this role not only in the program. They become role models, and they are like all the time between them
Yeah.
also like sharing positive feedback, and they have learned how to uh, create like more like positive conversations.
Yeah. Wow, wow. And I'd love to come back and hear more about your coaches and the role models. And so we're definitely going to come back to that. I just wanted to highlight, I love what you said right at the beginning, and everything you shared, as always, was really powerful. But I love what you said right near the beginning about behaviors, and that it's the behaviors that they have in common that help build the sense of belonging and the positive gang and those social connections. It's the communication, and that what they are experiencing is also giving them kind of increased confidence and maybe increased agency to go for those goals. And what I really love about that is that a lot of that can be translated or transferred into spaces other than at your program. And that's really cool as well. That goes beyond just the surfing or whatever the sport, well, just, but goes beyond the sport or the space that you've created at Alto Peru, which is really exciting. Thank you. Chris, I saw you nodding a lot. Are you finding things in common? Are there things that are resonating?
Everything that Matias said, we are having the same experiences. I would probably, I thought it was best to share some quotes from our recent impact assessment about what the changes that the kids saw in themselves. And I just have a few, maybe 3 of them. One of them is, and this is from our participants, one of them, and just so people know, when we do our impact assessments, everything is done in a way where it's the kids or the youth's perspective. They are not coerced in any way. They are not forced to say anything that they don't want to say. It's all by them. You know, everything that is said, everything that's written down. And I'll start. One of our participants, the changes that they see within themselves, they said, I started helping my family more. Another one said, I learned how to be kind, caring, and loving, but most of all, I learned how to meditate. Another one said, I learned how to react in a calm and respectable way when someone does something to me that I don't like. These are some of our participants saying, of course, but these are some of the changes that they see within themselves since, you know, our safe therapy program. We are 2 years old and some months, and we are up to almost 40, working with 40 youth. We have a surf therapy division, and then they graduate into a club structure. And it's interesting because what Matias shared is kind of almost a duplicate of what we are seeing. We have the club structure where they can go surfing after. And the good thing about the club structure is when they graduate from the surf therapy program. So they are able to graduate together and share similar values, experience similar things with a background of coming through a surf therapy program, which I find is super exciting because in our club, we can also explore a lot of other sports and other things, you know. But Matias is spot on when it comes to relatability between our programs.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you so much for bringing the voices of your participants into this space. I absolutely love that. Thank you. And for anyone who wants to know more about the impact that the Ways for Hope team are having in their community, I think Tim has or is about to share the link to the Ways for Hope impact report in the chat. Otherwise, you can also head to their website, and they also have great social media. So you can definitely keep up to date with this journey. Cool. Thank you so much both for sharing. I'd love to hear from and Chris, I'm going to stick with you if that's okay for now. I'd love to hear, and you've alluded to it a little bit already, But what are some of the things that you do at Ways for Hope? So in your surf therapy and your surf club, that you think lead to some of these changes. So, you know, the first quote you shared spoke about meditation, and I think it was kind of like an emotional and behavior regulation as well. Yeah, and anyway, I just love to hear what it is that you think about what you do at Waves for Hope that leads to those changes. And you can just mention, yeah, whatever first comes to mind. Yeah.
Well, for one, I think what helps spur on some of these changes are the structure of our programs. And so we are consistent, for example, being there consistently. The safe space that we create, and we're excited to also be creating more of those safe spaces. The safe spaces create an environment for learning easier. Our caring mentors makes it very helpful, I guess, in terms of support, and our our mentors as well are positive role models. So they practice positive role model behaviors while the kids are around. But also our mentors live in the communities as well. So it's not just while we're at the beach in the programs on a Saturday or on a Friday, but it's also the mentors in the community, you know, that carry on these role model behaviors. And then the activities themselves that promote the like personal development. And because it's something that is always like here is lacking, you know, just opportunities to develop in so much ways. And like Matias said, like having goals and suddenly having the space to dream, suddenly having the peace when they're with us to actually think about who am I, what would I like to be, what am I good at, what can I be, and actually believing in themselves with those with these qualities. So I think those are some of the biggest things in our program that create these changes.
Amazing. Chris, thank you so much for sharing. I love what you said about consistency, about your caring mentors and their behavior, and their values and their actions and what it is that they're doing, both at the program and just being change makers in their community by the way they live. That's really huge. The safe space, I think, yeah, we all know, or I mean, for me, definitely, there's a strong belief that safe space is created by the caring mentors as well and their behaviors. So I love that you mentioned that. And then also these activities, such as meditation and the mindfulness and the various kind of tools that the participants can practice at the space and then use elsewhere. It's really, really exciting. Matias, what about that did you resonate with? What feels in common? We'd love to hear from Alto, Peru.
Everything. He said everything. Because, to be honest, like the caring mentors, that's like for us, in our experience at least, I think it's like a big change, like to have an adult from the community who is like treating you different and looking at you in a different way and taking care of you and giving you positive feedback all the time, and also doing things that are like different, meditating, sitting in a circle in the middle of the beach and reflecting about what happened. I think that the circles have a super important role, at least in our program, and we try to build up on the power of the circles and how each of us is taking care of the other, and we are not complete if someone is not in the circle. And it has a lot of symbols that we try to use, uh, and also like all the tools that the program has. It's really hard like to talk about one thing of the program related to the impact. I think it's the whole program. uh, but yeah, I would like highlight the role of the coaches. I think it's like super relevant, and at the same time I think there is a big master, a big professor, which is like the ocean and surfing,
Yeah.
and cleaning the beach every day. We have like micro cleanups every
Mhm.
session. We clean the beach at least a little bit, and we talk about it and what we found and what happened, why is it here. And also I think that the dialogue that each kid creates with the ocean, uh, it's like also a big part of everything. Like it wouldn't be possible even though we are using like different sports and different settings. I think the ocean
Yeah.
has like, the ocean is really important, and it's like teaching us all the time, so we
Yeah.
have to mention it.
Yeah. I love that. I think that idea of the ocean as a teacher is so powerful. I'm thinking, I mean, just a little bit about our own context in South Africa, and I'm sure this resonates with a lot of people. The ocean can be quite a scary place for some. It's not necessarily automatically a safe space. And I was thinking that kind of brought me back to what you've both highlighted about the importance of these caring coaches and how they create a safe space, and a space that might not automatically have been a familiar space or a comfortable space for our participants. But through their various caring coach actions, such as the reflection and that visual of the safe circle on the beach was so powerful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I just really appreciated that. I think that was really cool. So you've both shared the importance of kind of consistent caring coaches, the safe spaces, the activities that the children practice and master under the guidance of the caring coaches in these safe spaces, and how that might build confidence and esteem and connections. And then, you know, with surf therapy programs, we use surf as one of our tools or our vehicles for bringing about positive youth development and well-being. Matias, I'd love to hear from you, because at Alto Peru, you've had quite an amazing journey of adapting and using some of those core pillars. And as you said, there's no one silver bullet that leads to all those changes we were discussing earlier and leads to all that impact. But there are some of these core pillars that together can build a well-being and health service. We originally connected through surf therapy, but you and the team have been quite amazing at using the different methodologies and practices that we've explored together through surf therapy in other sports programs. And yeah, before we hear from Jamie and then see if there's any Q&A, I think it would be really cool for everyone on this call to hear a little bit about that journey, because of course, not everyone on this call can deliver a surf therapy program, but I think everyone on this call could learn from you guys and your journey around how to create access to a well-being service for youth, even if they're not on the coast, and even if they're not in the beautiful tropics of Trinidad, or the cooking lefts of Peru. They could maybe have some of the similar positive impact that you guys have managed to have, almost no matter where they are. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you've taken from this surf therapy journey, and how you've applied it to other contexts.
Yeah. So something like, just to start, we started using surfing when we started the organization, and then like 5 years later, after trying different activities, the Muay Thai, which is kickboxing, like from Thailand, we started doing it. I was against. I was like, I wasn't like a big fan of it, because it was violent for me. It was like, man, they are punching each other. But it started with the national team. They came to the community and they visited us, and I learned it's a lot of technique and mainly values, like martial arts. And we started practicing Muay Thai in the community, for like, we have like years doing it, and we have had like national champions and world champions in Thailand, and it's been like a long journey of having Muay Thai in the community. And then we went to South Africa, and we learned much more about the methodology that you've been using. We came back to the community, and it was like, even when we were in South Africa, it was like, man, this is like super powerful. We could try to adapt it. And it was like an idea, but first we needed to use it properly in Peru with surfing for a while, and learn and have our own process to like really understand it. And that's what happened. But at the same time, the pandemic situation, was like an accelerator also, because we weren't like super focused on doing this adaptation of the methodology to Muay Thai, because it had to be organic. It was like a transition, and the Muay Thai was kind of competitive, and like high performance in Alto, Peru. But then the pandemic started, and here we've been like in lockdown for 4 months. We are not yet able to use beaches after more than 1 year and a half. We can't use the beach. We can go to the mall, we can consume, we can be part of the capitalism totally, but we can't use the beach because it's super dangerous. And it's like bizarre and crazy. But this situation pushed us to like be resourceful. Okay, what can we do? And as a part of what we do as an organization, we also transform public spaces with the community. So we had a couple of public spaces that we transformed before, and those were the spaces where the kids were playing all day, because even though the situation was like the pandemic situation, and don't go out, don't go to the streets, the reality is that the kids are in the streets the whole day, and their homes could be more dangerous, like in terms of fascination. There are like a lot of people in the same room, and also in terms of violence. The gender violence has increased a lot, sexual abuse has increased a lot. So the kids are in the street and they're playing and they're trying to be happy. So at some point we decided, okay, we have to start again with the therapy somehow. And so we grabbed the structure of the surf therapy, and we started like prototyping with Muay Thai. And it was, I won't say it was easy, but it was natural. We only changed like the activity. And even the Muay Thai has much more contact with the mentor, with the instructor, because you don't have the ocean. So the kids are like, and they have to, how do you say, queue, like make lines, like one behind the other and wait. And those situations are also like super good because they learn to wait. And the facilitators are all the time in contact and eye contact, and the kids are all the time like in the, like under control, under the dynamic. They are not in the ocean. Sometimes in the ocean has a lot of good things, and they can like be free for a while and have fun. But in the Muay Thai, you have to like regulate a bit more the space. And mainly what we did is like the same structure, but changing the surf activity with Muay Thai and having more games, because the kids have a lot of energy, and they can't like run in the beach because the public spaces are sort of small. So yeah, we're still questioning some things. Actually, the facilitators, they are questioning stuff, and that's amazing for us. A couple of weeks ago, they were saying like, but meditation every day in each session, we don't know, that doesn't look natural. And I think it's in part because they are not like meditators yet. They are not like practicing it like a lot, and we are doing a lot of sports therapy like every day in different parts of the community. So they have to, they are practicing a lot, and at the same time they are in the middle of their community, in like in front of the gang. And really, like literally, one of the public spaces we transformed it's like the spicy place in the community where everyone sells drugs, and they are their friends. They have grown up to there, and the facilitators are like meditating, and the other guys, hola, that's my kid, and the other guys are selling drugs. So, and in the same corner. So I think they also have some like issues with that. It's hard, but it's almost like the same method. It's like it has moments really like marked, and it's working. It's working. It's working a lot. It's like, I'm sure of it. We haven't measured the impact like the after.
Yeah.
We have the feedback. We have the conversations with the facilitators, and also it's what we can do right now. That's the other
Yeah.
part. So yeah, we have tried it also with football, with soccer, and yeah, I think it's like we have to try
Yeah.
and measure.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I think that's such an important point, is at what point do we say, oh, that's impossible, and not try and adapt, right? At what point is it our responsibility to say, okay, well, we know there's this need because of the challenges that the participants are facing. We know that we can have this impact because we've seen it already, either in our own work or the work of partners, or you join a webinar and you get inspired by someone who's doing amazing work on the other side of the world. And you recognize that there's these core elements. And like you say, you could swap out the sport potentially, or the location, changing from a beach to a spicy neighborhood. It's tricky, but if we can take those core pillars that kind of build our programs into other spaces and into other contexts, maybe we can still have some of that impact that we were having at the beach elsewhere as well. Or for those of us who don't necessarily have access to a beach because we're not coastal. And I really appreciated as well how you shared that part of this adaptation was in I suppose response to COVID and this pandemic and the lockdown. I know at Race for Change, I mean, we tried to take those core pillars and go from groups of about 60 children on a beach to WhatsApp groups. And I'm sure lots of people on the call can resonate as well. How do you take those core pillars and take them into a WhatsApp group? So yeah, it's like you said, it's not necessarily automatically easy, but there's something about it that's quite natural if we have that understanding of what it is that's at the core of our programs that leads to impact. And of course, surfing or Muay Thai or skateboarding or football, whatever the sport might be, plays a big role. But there's a lot else as well. And yeah, I think that's exciting, and it definitely gives me a lot of hope personally. Yeah, we only have a few more minutes, and I think I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat room, but I think Tim has. I think there's a couple of questions in the chat room, and we were also hoping to just, I can't actually see all the participants. Sorry, Tim, maybe you can help. Is Jamie back? Jamie, hi.
I'm here.
Hi, no worries at all. Hi, sorry. So before we go to the Q&A, I just wanted to, sorry, big storm, and then suddenly the sun came out. There we are. Jamie, of course, we know each other, and we know Matias and Chris through the Wave Alliance work, and also a lot of your role in the Wave Alliance. Well, you play many roles, but a big part of your role is the research and the evaluation. And both of the impact reports which have been shared in the chat room, in the chat, were written up with the support of Jamie, but Jamie has done lots of research in this field. And I know we're going to go into much more depth on the next panel, but I was just wondering, what about what both Chris and Matias have shared from their personal experiences so far has resonated or aligned with the research that you've been doing in the sector?
Yeah, I mean, well, firstly, I'd just like to say it's always a privilege to share the space with Matias, Chris, and our other Wave Alliance partners. The work you guys do on the ground is just fantastic, and it's always a privilege to sort of be involved in any way. But yeah, I think there's so much we could talk about in terms of what you've mentioned, in terms of anecdotes, in terms of the sort of core mechanisms, the things that make your programs work that you've sort of identified through there. But there was one overarching theme that I think is a beautiful segue to just mentioning about what we're going to be doing in 2 weeks. And that was, at no point in our discussions around surf therapy, around your delivery of surf therapy for your participants, did we talk about how big someone's top turns were, or anything to do with conventional measures of surfing performance. In fact, actually, until we came on to talking about differentiating between surfing and the Muay Thai, for example, we didn't really talk about the surfing very much. And I think that's a hugely important theme to note within the work we've done with you guys, with the work we're seeing in development through sport around the world. Some of you might have noticed that we called this webinar Development Through Sport, and that was a choice we made because it is more commonly known as sport for development, but the sport really is the vehicle. We need these pillars, we need these core elements, whether they're safe spaces, whether they're caring mentors, whether they're curriculums that are teaching new behaviors or coping strategies for mental health. The sport comes second. Our outcomes, whether they're development or mental health based, whatever they may be, they have to come first and they have to be prioritized. And there has been for a long time, both in it's a discussion that's been ongoing in research for a long time. There's almost been this idolizing of sport, this idea that you can just drop sport in somewhere and it's going to make the world a better place. And it simply isn't true. Sport has the potential to be an incredibly powerful vehicle to deliver these positive outcomes, but without these add-ons, these things, well, they're not add-ons actually, the sport is the add-on. These core pillars, we've called them in this conversation, whether it's the safe space, the caring adults, whatever it might be, without those, it is just sport. And countless research has shown that just dropping in sport not only can sort of have no effects, but it can actually have a negative effect on especially mental health outcomes. So it's so cool to see how that theme has emerged over the course of this discussion. And it ties into exactly what we're trying to do, both within the Wave Alliance and what there is increasingly a bigger movement to do around sport for development. And in 2 weeks, I will be sharing a panel with Professor Simon Rosenbaum from Australia, who's going to sit with me, and we're going to talk a bit more around those key mediators, those key things. So, for example, I'm fully intending to go into safe spaces in depth, because safe spaces in challenging circumstances have been a key theme that I've identified in all of my research across multiple different populations using surf therapy. So we're gonna spend an hour, 2 weeks today at the same time. So yeah, that'll be the 14th of June at this time, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, we're going to sort of dive in a bit more depth around what those core pillars are that we need to take sport from, just sport to this amazing vehicle for mental health, for development, for other community impacts. So yeah, I hope as many of you as possible can join us then.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a good point to jump into any questions from everyone on the webinar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. And yeah, I mean, obviously we'll go into that much more on the next panel, and I'm so excited for that. Have so many thoughts, but I'll keep them for the next chat. Tim, I know we probably only have time for one or maybe two questions. I'm gonna give you the honor of choosing that one or maybe two.
All right. 10 minutes, 3 questions. Let's see. First, Chris, I think first one's a good one for you. It's from Ben. And he just asks, are there challenges to building these communities in underdeveloped regions? And just thinking about how pivotal you are in Ballandra. There's not really much else in Ballandra. You are like the only intervention for young people. So what are the challenges to building a community like Waves for Hope in Ballandra? And what do you recommend? What's the best way to go about it? How do you start?
Well, good question. There's probably a long-winded answer to that, but I'll try to keep it short. Firstly, getting an understanding of the communities that you're working with is key. Knowing the people, being in the community. Secondly, really having not just a physical desire to do something where you create change, but also like literally pouring your heart and soul into doing something like this. You see, while we talk about all these things, there is a certain tax, I would say, for want of a better word, that running these programs and setting up an NGO, and there's a certain tax that it takes from you as probably a founder or a mentor or one of the community leaders that sometimes you never get back. And having a real love, a genuine love and care is what's going to carry you through these hard times. You've got to be extremely resourceful, because sometimes government funding isn't forthcoming. Sometimes no funding is forthcoming. And I think the other thing is it has to happen. The best way is for it to happen organically. You can't be forcing something onto communities that the communities themselves are not accepting of or they don't want. I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for that. I think the point you make that's so important as well is that it comes from the community. And I think the people who know that are the people who live there. So these kind of local change agents. And I think you're such a great example of that. From Ballandra, grew up there, and you created this safe space for young people there that you consistently lead every single weekend. And you spoke about consistency, and you've created something the community want. I think it's really, yeah, it's a fantastic point. Hopefully we've answered Ben's question. Ben, feel free again to message if there's anything else you'd like to know. We actually have a tiny bit more time as well. Chris, thank you for answering that so succintly. Do you have another point?
Can I say one more thing? Yeah. I started over the last few months. I started really thinking about the whole idea about safe spaces. You see, a lot of the time, one of the problems is youth and just in general, people becoming a product of their environment, right? And more so, if they're becoming a product of their environment, help change that environment, create a different ecosystem, you know, and that in itself would be change in that community. And that's all I wanted to touch on. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Thanks, Chris. What I'm going to do is just use the little bit of time we got left to address one of the other questions. It's come up twice. I think Kathleen asked, and so did David. And it was a little bit of a question on tracking impact and how do we do it. So, you know, I think Matias as well, this might be a good one for me to pass to you because you guys have managed to do a lot of interesting stuff at Alto Peru, obviously with Jamie's kind of guidance as well. So Jamie, maybe jump in if Matias, if between you guys you want to answer this one, but Matias, I'll direct it to you quickly. Yeah, in terms of tracking impact, how do you do it? Is it using surveys or is it focus groups? Is it during or after the program? And are there any specific tools? I guess, Jamie, you could probably answer the tools, and maybe Matias, if you answer the process.
Yeah, sure. I think Jamie is like the specialist here, but I'll do my best. What we do is we start with a pre-test. As soon as the group is confirmed, we have a survey. We use the Warwick questionnaire. And also we are using the strengths and difficulties questionnaire, which is the SDQ. And we have like some words that it's a word association test. So we ask the kids about what does the beach means for them, or what does surf means for them. And the Warwick is the questionnaire is of well-being, and the SDQ is like strengths and difficulties. And then it depends on the duration of the program. We try to have a middle evaluation, and then a post after the program. We have another one, and that's like how we try to assess the impact. And at the same time, we have we track assistance, and also like we have more like qualitative like observation of facilitators. And we are lucky because what we've done is we have a mixed team of psychologists with facilitators. So we always have like a specialist. I think that's something that it's not like necessary, but we have it. And so the psychologists and also the facilitators, they write in an observation guide, like only if some behaviors or situations are like calling their attention in the session about a kid. And so we can like have also like we have an Excel sheet where we like can see like some like conflict situations or sometimes even comments of the kids that are like calling our attention. But yeah, that's how we do it.
Yeah, I think you covered it really well there, Matias. And actually, I think this is a really good moment I just want to celebrate all of our Wave Alliance partners, many of who come from, you know, backgrounds where they really, this was their first time really trying to have a go with evaluation. And it's been so rewarding to see the evaluations come about, and organizations really understanding the value that the evaluation process has to their process. So I think that's just something that's been really cool, and creating that culture of evaluation within organizations like the wonderful surf therapy organizations we've managed to work with, I think is so important, because as we continue to build the evidence for both surf therapy and also within that development through sport paradigm, or that development through sport sort of area, you know, the more evaluation we have coming from right on the ground is really important. And also it's a common, in my opinion, and this may be controversial, but in my opinion, it's very common for researchers to come in and just demand this you know, this setup to do a really rigorous study, which, you know, we need those. We absolutely need our controlled trials. We need those things, but they come in and they tell an organization, you must do this, must do this, must do this. They get their data and then they're gone. And it's this very sort of, it can be a very disruptive and sort of quite negative process. And I think there is you know, there's a much better way of doing this, where it really is a partnership, and it's about building, you know, building evaluation capacity at the very, you know, at the organizational level is so important. So it's been great doing that. But yeah, there's not much more I'd add, Matias. I think you summed it up really well. There are a range of scales out there, and I would just say, rather than sort of me listing my favorites and things, I'd just say, if you're an organization that is interested in doing more evaluation, if this is something you're more interested in, firstly, see groups. I mean, I'm Chris and Manuela. So Manuela is Chris's partner, and she's doing some really cool stuff now around collecting data with the participants who have been in the surf club, so we can explore the longer term impact of surf therapy in Trinidad. And it was just fantastic that all came from Manuela and Chris, and yeah, just so cool to see. But if you're interested in sort of taking those first steps in evaluation, I'd really encourage you to head over to the International Surf Therapy Organization website. Even if you're not a surf therapy organization, I saw some cool stuff in the chat from orgs that maybe weren't using sport, using other things. But the International Surf Therapy Organization website has something there called the Evaluation Framework, which is basically a sort of, this is how you do evaluation document that is aimed at helping organizations take that first step on their evaluation journey. It's completely free, it's completely accessible. There are a list of tools that different people have used, pre and post tools. There's examples of how to make your own qualitative questionnaire. So yeah, if you are interested in that kind of thing, please do go. I see the link's just been dropped in the chat. Please do go have a look in that, because the framework actually follows a very similar process to what we've worked through, both with Matias and Chris and our other Wave Alliance partners around the world. So yeah, and if you want to learn more about obviously the theoretical mediators, so the more in-depth research, well, then you should definitely come along in 2 weeks.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Just having a quick look at the time and switching my camera on, because I'm just going to bid everyone a farewell and thank you for joining. I guess just to wrap, first of all, Matias and Chris, thank you so much for freeing up your time. I know different parts of the world, Peru and Trinidad, it's early there. Chris gave up a surf during his lockdown period of exercise, so thank you so much. I guess the overriding statement that we want to make is there's huge power in community-based organizations, you know, organizations that are from the community, of the community, that work for the community. And by working together and sharing what works with each other, we can collectively do something very, very big. And I guess that's what we're trying to do with these networks and alliances and partnerships, is make available little toolkits and things that work. So if so yeah, Desor, for example, I see that you're just getting in touch. If you run like a non-profit and you're interested in how do you do evaluation, or are there curriculums or things that we can use, after this webinar, we're going to send an email out to everyone, and there'll be some links on there as to where you can access some of the toolkits or bits and pieces we've been talking about. So the power of community-based organizations, I think, is really important. It's something we all want to amplify. Chris and Matias, please do check out their websites, because they do amazing work. And thank you again for joining us. As Jamie said, what we're going to do in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be joined by 2 of Jamie's supervisors, and we're going to look in a little bit more depth, not supervisors, sorry, Jamie, 2 of Jamie's colleagues. And we're going to look in a little bit more depth at what makes these programs work. Like, what are the active ingredients of these programs, and how can we start mainstreaming them a little bit more? So that's going to be in 2 weeks. And again, on the email we're about to send out, we'll have some information there. And yeah, from us, just again, thank you so much. It's time you freely gave up to join us and to listen to all of us talk, and it's really, really appreciated. Thank you. And if you have any more questions, Jaco, I know we didn't get to your question on being a mentor, so we'll connect you with Ash, Matias, and Chris maybe online after this, and maybe there can be an email exchange there as well. I've just noted that. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much for giving up your time. We hope it was interesting. We have a recording that we'll share with you as well. And hopefully we'll see as many of you as possible in a couple of weeks' time, and feel free to invite your friends and colleagues as well. So thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your days. Chris and Matias, miss you, but we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Thank you, Chris, Matias, Jamie, legends. Tash.
Thank you. Bye.